Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Adam's Music Box. And today I want to talk about Taylor Swift, and I want to pose the question, is she going to become the top-selling female artist of all time? And there's several ways we can measure this. The most typical way is through record sales, but in this day and age, and for a while, that really means streams because fewer and fewer people purchase a single song or a single album, whether it's with a physical format, an LP, a CD, a tape, etc., or with a purchase download from Apple, from Amazon, etc. Most people, including those who use Apple, Amazon, and the world's biggest streaming service, Spotify, are going to stream rather than purchase. But let's not get bogged down in the particularities of this. Let's actually look at who Taylor's competition historically is for this number one spot. Even though she's the youngest female on this list, she's got a few in front of her. So we've got Taylor Swift, who has sold over 200 million records. And above that, we've got Whitney Houston. Then we've got Mariah Carey. Then we've got Rihanna and the top selling female artist of all time, Madonna. Now, like I said, at the age of 34, Taylor Swift's younger than all of these. So unless she takes an early retirement or takes a pause from music making and touring, which she's very much in the position to do should she want to. But assuming that isn't the case, she is on track to be the number one selling female artist of all time. It would be difficult to see otherwise because she is on a roll, so to speak, where some of the others are nearing retirement age. And sadly, in Whitney Houston's case, she's been dead for quite some time. So the next obvious question is, why is Taylor Swift so popular? Well, Frank Zappa described pop music as music you can dress up to. Now, what did he mean by that? It meant that music that has an associated lifestyle with it, which includes a style of dress, of appearance, of behavior, of merchandise. And that's big in terms of both the cultural penetration of a particular artist, and increasingly that's important commercially. Now, some artists were always very good at merchandising. Kiss, for instance, were merchandising long before anyone had to, and there was, of course, lots of Elvis merchandise in his day, lots of Beatles merchandise, etc. But in those days, that was really something that padded out record sales because until the early 2000s, it was all about selling records. This was an even more important financial consideration to most artists, though not all, than live performance, where today live performance and other live events are king, where the money that most artists make from streaming isn't as big as it could have been if we were still living in an age where physical formats reign supreme. And Taylor Swift is actually one of several artists who's actually raised this issue about the phenomenon of streaming companies failing to adequately compensate artists vis-a-vis the age when physical media were dominant. But above all, the Taylor Swift fan base is a movement. And we've seen many movements among artists over the years. We had the Bobby Soxers following Frank Sinatra in his youth, and as he matured into an older pop star, this became less of a thing to dress up to. But certainly in his youth, there was a Frank Sinatra movement. Elvis, absolutely. There was an entire lifestyle, an entire way of dressing, of behaving, and of merchandising surrounding Elvis. Same with the Beatles. Perhaps the person overall who is literally the king of pop, Michael Jackson, no one was better at selling this lifestyle combined with the cinematic style of music better than Michael Jackson. Focusing, though, exclusively on female artists and vocalists in particular, it's difficult to think of one that has approached the penetration into the lifestyle, behavioral, and fashion essence as much as Taylor Swift. Madonna was obviously a trailblazer in this respect, but in many ways, Taylor Swift's music has an even broader appeal. Madonna was obviously someone who courted controversial things. It was because of the sexualized nature of the music. It was because of her provocative statements to the media. her provocative style of dress, etc. Whereas Taylor Swift generally has shied away from controversy. She's made a few political statements here and there, and in this day and age, anything political is going to be controversial to some. But overall, Taylor Swift has allowed the focus to be on things separate from that which the members of the general public would consider controversial. And I think this is one of the reasons that she is on pace, at least as of 2024, to become the top selling female artist, because she's someone that offers something for everyone. Her live shows are entertainment events. It's not just someone with a spotlight and a microphone doing her thing. It's a fully fledged multimedia event with lights, with video, with costumes, with special effects, with dancing. And that's always going to help create more traction for a musical artist generally than someone who just stands with a spotlight and a microphone doing his or her thing. Her fan base are incredibly loyal. And this is something that's important for big artists as much as for niche and smaller artists. There are some, Frank Zappa again being one of them, who obviously couldn't fill a stadium the way that a Taylor Swift or a Michael Jackson could, but he had an audience that were so devoted to him that no matter what he put out on record, people would buy it. People would go to his shows. Now, Taylor Swift has been able to combine that total devotion from a group of fans and combine it with mass appeal. It helps that the group of totally devoted fans are very big, but even so, whenever you get to the stadium musician, we have to look at the phenomenon from the business world of 80-20. And generally for stadium acts, what this means is 20% of the people who buy tickets are your diehard fanatical fans, and the other 80% are more casual fans. And this was something that David Gilmour of Pink Floyd observed in the 70s. And it's one of the reasons that he justified the big theatrical displays that Pink Floyd had at their shows. He said that in a stadium of 80 to 100,000 people, you'd be a fool to think that every single one knows every song you've ever done or could sing along with every lyric that you sing. About 20% could, but the others are there to be part of an event. Now, these specific numbers are different with every artist, and I would venture to say that for Taylor Swift, the number of diehard fans, the Swifties, if you will, at each of her shows is probably a lot more than 20%, because again, she and those around her have been absolutely expert at selling the overall experience, which transcends a mere live reproduction of the music people are familiar with from the recordings. And so, because of this, unless someone pops up who is able to capture this cultural movement in a manner that equals or exceeds Taylor Swift, I would venture to guess that in just probably a few short years, she is probably going to be the top selling, streaming, if you will, in this day and age, a female artist of all time. And when you combine that with merchandise and concert tickets, I think that there's already a very strong case to be made that based on both tangible and intangible elements, she's already one of the top female artists, if not the top of all time. And by all accounts, she's going to keep going. She's a deeply ingrained part of the culture where everyone knows her name, even people who might fall out of the demographic that her fans generally fall into. And even among those that either because of reasons of age or because of stylistic preferences don't have Taylor Swift on their Spotify or Apple or Amazon or Tidal playlist. That is the definition of a cultural phenomenon. And it's going to be interesting to see if anyone can even begin to approach that among the artists that are yet to be discovered. It's important to remember that in spite of her very young age, Taylor Swift's original appearance in the media world came out just before Spotify, and she wasn't even a pop artist. She was in the world of country music, and she became undisputably the world's most successful crossover artist, going from a popular country star to now becoming the queen of the pop star world, the queen of pop music. We've seen this in many genres. George Benson, for instance, was a jazz jazz guitarist who then made funk albums, which then segued into him getting on to the pop charts. And there are many instances in country music itself. Glenn Campbell, while never giving up or his country roots, not that Taylor has either, he became one of the biggest pop stars over the course of many decades. And there are many, many examples of this through music. Shania Twain in more recent country, but Taylor Swift is, of course, the biggest exemplar of this trend of all. So I do believe that she is going to become the top-selling female artist of all time. I'm sure there are some metrics people can point to whereby she's already achieved that. Are the TikTokers today who are gaining their exposure through very grassroots self-produced TikTok music videos going to eclipse this? Time will tell. What is certain is that Taylor Swift is the last of the pop stars who appeared before streaming and later TikTok became dominant, who is without doubt going to dominate into the future. Even if she did decide to take time off, the streaming will continue, the merchandising will continue, her views on all sorts of video-based platforms will continue. Cultural movements are when pop music becomes stratospheric. You can become very popular just by being a good singer or a good musician, but to truly capture the culture as a whole, you need to generally offer something more. Taylor Swift has done that, and that's why she continues to be really popular. Like, subscribe. We will see you next time. Take care.